Good afternoon. My name is Luke Lawrence, and today I'll be presenting my research titled Digital Privacy in the Fourth Amendment, a Call for a Constitutional Revolution. As our lives become more dependent on technology, the questions we need to ask is the Constitution still enough to protect us from government surveillance? This presentation is going to dive into how the Fourth Amendment must evolve to protect our digital privacy in today's age. Introduction. Our phones, apps, and online platforms constantly collect and share our personal information, even when in the background. While the Fourth Amendment does protect us against unreasonable searches and seizures, it was written in a completely different era. Back then, the main concern was physical entry into homes or seizures of documents. Today, however, personal data lives in the cloud and travels across networks. This presentation is going to explore how outdated legal frameworks threaten our privacy and why a reinterpretation of the Fourth Amendment is critical in today's age, the digital age. The Fourth Amendment was adopted in 1791 to protect people's homes, papers, and physical properties from government intrusion. At the time, privacy was just understood in terms of physical spaces. The law was built around the idea of trespassing or breaking into people's property. Since then, technology has advanced dramatically, but many legal interpretations of the Fourth Amendment still rely on that physical model. This has left a significant gap in how we protect digital information, which isn't tied to any physical space. Today, nearly every part of our lives leaves a digital trace, whether we're using GPS, just sending a message, or just browsing online. And a lot of this happens without us even realizing it. Government agencies now have access to many powerful surveillance tools. For example, they can track your physical movements using cell site location data. They can request access to your emails, cloud documents, and even your browsing history. And with metadata, they can learn who you talk to, how often you talk to them, and when, all without even reading the actual messages. What's even more concerning is that advanced technologies like facial recognition and AI-driven surveillances are growing fast and with little to no regulation. Much of this data is collected and stored by private companies, but law enforcement can get into it, sometimes even without a warrant. If legal standards don't catch up, this creates a major risk for privacy and civil liberties for our people today. One of the most important recent cases in this era is Carpenter versus United States. In this case, law enforcement collected 127 days of cell site location data from a suspect's phone provider, all without a warrant. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that this was unconstitutional, stating that individuals have a reasonable expectation of privacy in their physical movement. The case marked a significant break from earlier rulings under the third-party doctrine, which had allowed the government to access information held by companies without a warrant. This ruling signaled that the digital data deserved heightened protection under the Fourth Amendment. Another critical case is Riley v. California. In this case, police arrested a man and searched his smartphone without a warrant. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously that this was a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They recognized that our phones today aren't just a means of communication, and they serve as much more. They contain a great amount of all our personal information, including our photos, medical records, banking data, and so much more. As Chief Justice Roberts wrote, modern cell phones are not just another technological convenience for us. They hold, for many Americans, the privacies of life. This case laid the groundwork for treating digital devices as highly private spaces. While court decisions are important, this issue also raises deep ethical questions. Should governments be able to monitor citizens without their knowledge? Should privacy be sacrificed in the name of public safety? In the European Union, the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, requires companies and governments to protect personal data and to get clear consent before collecting it. In the US, we don't have a single comprehensive law for digital privacy. That puts many Americans at risk, especially marginalized communities who are more likely to be subjected to surveillance. In an ethical sense, the questions we have to ask is who gets watched and why? And how do we protect our fairness? How do we ensure transparency and consent in an age of mass data collection? It's important to recognize the arguments in favor of digital surveillance. Some say surveillance is necessary to fight terrorism, track criminals, and prevent violent threats. And this is very true. Public safety is a legitimate concern. However, we don't need to abandon our privacy to stay safe. There's no need for such a trade-off. The Fourth Amendment doesn't prohibit surveillance, it just requires that it be reasonable. That means getting a warrant, showing probable cause, and having oversight. It's all about checks and balances with the right legal framework. And with the right legal framework, we can uphold both privacy and our security. So, what changes can we make? First, the courts must continue to reevaluate and interpret the Fourth Amendment in ways that reflect how we all live our lives today in this digital age. That means recognizing the sensitivity of digital data and requiring warrants before our things can be accessed. Secondly, lawmakers should pass federal privacy legislations that clearly defines digital rights, limiting surveillance power and ensuring transparency when data is collected. We also need better oversight of how government agencies and even the private companies that collect our data handle our personal data. In all, reform must be proactive and not reactive. Things need to be set in place beforehand. To wrap it all up, we live in a world where data is powerful, and our most personal information can be collected and analyzed without us even knowing it. The Fourth Amendment was designed to protect our privacy and dignity, but if we don't reevaluate it to meet the realities of modern life today, it will fail to serve that purpose. By updating our laws and legal interpretations, we can ensure that privacy remains a core American right even in this digital age. Thank you. And here are the sources I used. All sources are cited in APA format. Thank you.